My name is Kim Thompson. I'm a painter and commercial illustrator. I'm Nottingham born and bred, but I spent quite a lot of time in Manchester. Recently came to Nottingham in 2016. But yeah, this is my base now. My heritage is Jamaican, so second generation. My dad was born there. My mum was born here. My grandparents came over in the 50s to Nottingham on my maternal side. So I'm Black British, but, I guess I identify as both, as someone who has that kind of like duality of heritage. The exhibition that I'm currently working on, Water into Wine, it's something that I guess it's been in the pipeline for a while. I'm very passionate about the project as it's something that I see as important in terms of kind of preserving Black British history via oral narrative, history and recording and archiving and documentation. The project actually began some years ago because I've always kind of been interested in just hearing stories from family members. So my maternal family in particular, they're really, really good storytellers, and like they always kind of like retell stories over and over again of growing up in Nottingham and their childhood and stuff. And I've just always found that so kind of exciting, and like there's just something about it that's just always been, I've really been drawn to it. I love like the idea of stories being passed down and preserved and kept, and the way that you can via that find out so much about your heritage and yourself and your family outside of just, being kind of blood relatives. You get to know a bit more about these people. My mum, unfortunately, we lost last year, and she battled cancer for a few years before that. So there was a lot of time that we got to spend just around her. You get to talk a lot and reflect. And I started, while she was in hospital being treated, I started recording little sessions, just kind of, she always wanted to kind of write some sort of autobiography. So I said, well, why don't we start recording just interviews? That seems like a good starting point. And out of that just came these really nice sessions where, we went as far back as her kind of school years. So off the back of that, I started making pictures of my mum and, kind of looking into old photograph albums and stuff. And I just thought, like there are so many stories like this regionally, particularly in the Nottingham area. Nottingham has like an historical Black Caribbean community. And I just thought this would be such a beautiful thing to do with people outside of my own family. With Water into Wine, I knew that I wanted it to be a wider project and involve my immediate community. I wanted it to kind of be something that celebrated and uplifted regional Black British stories. I felt a bit like in our celebration of like Black British history, there was a lot of focus on the Windrush or, like Windrush generation. It's great to celebrate us, but they felt narrow. And I wanted to do something that was more kind of a celebration of just Black existence and community and joy. I just wanted to invite members of my immediate community to be part of an exhibition of work, to have their kind of narratives celebrated and archived in a way in portraiture. I just thought it would be really nice to have something which was, direct, autonomous Black stories that inform portraiture, that kind of isn't about struggle, is just purely about joy, pure and simple, and is real people's stories. So you're not only getting a picture of the person, which is nice to look at, but you're getting like a bit of who they are. So the process for this, one thing that I really wanted to make sure of with this project was that I wasn't exploiting people for their narratives and their imagery. So I wanted it to feel collaborative and like ethical in how we put it all together. In order to do that, I actually enlisted the help of an incredible lady called Donna, who helped me to kind of go through the process of how to ethically interview people. I think it's called ethnography. And once we had the participants, we've set up a series of interviews that I did with them at NAE. So I invited them to come in with a photograph or a series of photographs and a particular memory that they wanted to talk about. And we just went from there, really. And we just sat together. It was quite informal, but we kind of connected everything back to their memories of this particular day or event or person. So everything was completely different. I was just really honoured to have the participants come in and share these moments with me. And it was, for me personally, it was almost like a bit of an emotional roller coaster as well. There was a lot in there that was we felt quite connected, or, there'd be lots of overlap in our stories, which was really nice. Myself and my curator decided that we would, for the last piece, make a sort of big mural inspired by the final interview that I did with my auntie Christine. It's really nice to be painting at this scale. I mean, ultimately, as someone who has a commercial illustration background, you're always very limited in terms of scale. So any opportunity I can get where I'm able to, be a bit freer and less confined by the boundaries of, whatever the art director has given me, this is a really nice opportunity to test how my mark making applies in this context. And yeah, it's quite exciting, as I've never done this size of piece before in a contemporary gallery space. So yeah, it was inspired by an interview that I did with my auntie Christine, who she was selected, it was kind of a scholarship thing, I think, to go to the Clifton Hall Girls' Grammar School in the 60s, which was this quite, sort of very good grammar school in like a sort of old manor in country, beautiful grounds and stuff. Very lovely school, according to her memory of it. So the image that I used as a reference and the kind of the subject we discussed in the interview was the school, and she gave me this photograph of herself. I think it's from 1966 or 67, and it's just like a photograph of the entire school, this really massive picture of them all on the tennis court. And it's quite striking because it was at the time she was, I think, the only black girl in the year. So I mean, you can spot her straight away. But it's even though it's obviously very striking to see that, the image itself, what I found quite nice about it is that her memories of that time were very positive. I am excited. I'm excited at the possibility of creating something so big, and I'm excited to see how people respond when they come into the gallery space and see it. It's my first time doing something of this sort of scale in a sort of contemporary gallery space before. So it's that applying of everything I know as, a portrait painter, but, outside of the confines of the canvas. So it's a little bit daunting, but also it's really cool. First of all, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to work with you all on what I feel like is actually a collaborative collection of work. I wouldn't have been able to make this work without the participants that have been involved. It's like you've been the inspiration for it. You provided the visual material. Sitting and chatting with you all kind of gave me the impetus to want to make the work in a particular way. So I just want to thank you all for donating both your time and your sort of energy and something quite personal, which I think, it's not always easy to do, to open up about these things, even though they're quite joyous.
Thank you very much, Kim. It was a very special moment.
I just think Kim has picked everything out perfectly. The key thing for me is there's a lot of colour, there's a lot of detail in the actual original picture. And she's definitely caught that and the love for my mum.
This particular image is part of the school sort of photograph that they had every 4 years. It was a black and white photograph, so it's very interesting and lovely to see how Kim's coloured it up.
I gave the picture to Kim, and I thought it probably wouldn't be good enough. But she said, "Oh yeah, it's really good," and she's done a great job, fantastic job.
This picture just depicts everything about my mum: the smile, the happiness. When I look at this, I can just see her kindness radiating out.
So thank you, Kim. Congratulations and love you lots. Mum would be so proud of this. Thanks.